Thanks for tuning in to Barbershop Sports Talk.
Now, I want to go to the Houston Texans. They get their first win of the season under Romeo Crennel. Right? So, with Romeo, it's really interesting. And I think I know your answer, but I'm going to ask you this anyway. If for some reason, and this is possible, I think. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks the AFC South is this daunting division. I mean, I feel like if they can get Deshaun Watson back on track, maybe they could reel off some games. I don't think that'd be the craziest thing in the world. They've done it before in Houston. If for some reason the Texans make the playoffs, do you have to bring Romeo back as the head coach?
No. So, one of the rules I always like is never hire the interim. And they're getting some momentum, just from a team standpoint in that building is going to a very likable guy. Romeo Crennel is, players love him. He's just a good guy, and I don't know if he's a guy that can play as the head coach. Sometimes you have to put your foot down and be more of a disciplinarian and be a bad cop. That's not Romeo, but he's an assistant coaching lifer. He's an NFL lifer. Players love him. So getting a likable guy like that to come in, especially with how toxic Bill O'Brien was at the end of his tenure, getting in heated shouting matches on the practice field with J.J. Watt, I think it's going to bring the locker room back together. But I'm looking at the Houston Texans and seeing, okay, when they let Bill O'Brien go, what to do at head coach is I'd be looking at a guy that could help take Deshaun Watson to the next level. And, Eric Bieniemy might be that guy, but I'm thinking if they do just a thorough search like that, they could.
Dabo Swinney?
No, I think Dabo Swinney's pretty much good at Clemson for a while. But taking a look at, having Romeo go back, since he's so well liked, going back to the defensive coordinator spot, one guy I'd keep an eye on that I like a lot is I'd be looking at a young coordinator like a Joel Brady to come in. You just take a look at his trajectory. I mean, his last 3 years, he was with Sean Payton as an assistant, got a great education there in coaching. Then he goes to LSU and has one of the most prolific offenses in college football history. Then he goes to the NFL, loses his best player in Christian McCaffrey, and they're 3-2 right now. And they've won 3 in a row with Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater playing at a high level. Joe Brady's a quarterback whisperer, and I think, having a guy like that to be the head coach, that's something I'm intrigued on. And then you could have an experienced defensive coordinator, a guy that could take you through the head coaching ropes like a Romeo Crennel or any number of experienced coordinators. But having a young coach like that, I'd be looking at a guy like a Joe Brady to get some head coaching interviews, and I think that'd be a great match with Deshaun Watson.
Kenny, why don't you never hire the interim?
I mean, so the only reason why you're in the role is because it's not based on your merit. It's because of you fired the head coach. The team fired the head coach, so that's the only reason he's in it. Like, they didn't come into the year saying let's make Romeo the head coach. Romeo Crennel was an assistant head coach, so that's one thing is not doing a full coach search. Once you get the coach like a Romeo Crennel, if he interviews for the job like everyone else, seeing, okay, how's this program going to look in the off season? Who is coordinators going to be? How's his relationship going to be with the GM, whoever we hire as the GM? Those things all come into play, and you just got to go through that process with all the other candidates. Another thing too is a lot of times what you'll see with interim coaches is they come into a bad spot. Obviously, head coach did a poor job to get fired. You get some positive momentum just because Bill O'Brien's not there or because the interim comes in, just a new voice for a little bit. So you get some momentum that for a couple of weeks, and then, it kind of, subsides or fizzles out a little bit. So I think that's where you see a boost in the interim, is just that immediate, change at the coaching level. But I don't think you can move forward with, a guy like a Romeo Crennel as a head coach. And, he's in his late 60s or 70s. Hasn't been a head coach since like 2008. In that regards, I think,
I think he might have had the KC job for a bit. Did he not have the KC job for a bit? He was interim.
Oh yeah, he was interim there. Yeah. He got placed as the interim there, but yeah, I mean he's a really good assistant. He's a top-notch coordinator. Players like him like that. I think his role is definitely being that coordinator or assistant coach, which is what he was. He was an assistant coach before Mike Vrabel took the Tennessee job. So I think that's a good spot for Romeo Crennel there.
Last time we were talking about a cocoon keeper, and I told you I was going to ask you this on the podcast. So please tell me and everyone else, what is a cocoon keeper in NFL terms?
That's the NFL establishment, Daryl. So you see this all the time. So you see this in the NFL. You see it in all walks of life. You see it in politics and everything. Is you have this circle of NFL lifers that have been in the NFL for a long time. And, the NFL is it's big into groupthink. It's big into groupthink. It's big into ego and making sure that you keep a lot of power and making sure that other people don't get credit for what you're doing. So what a cocoon keeper is it's someone that only hires and looks at like-minded people that have the same exact view. They don't want a lot of pushback, a diversity of thought on different ideas. They don't like that. They like taking the things that worked good for them in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. And if it's worked good back then, it still works good now. That's what happens. And you see it all the time, is it's a good old boys club. And whenever there's an open GM hire or open coach hire, you always look at who's the prime decision maker. They always seem to pick guys that they've worked with. Whether they're good or bad, they've always seemed to work with guys they're good at. Just take a look at one that's not worked is the Jets. So Adam Gase was still the head coach. He had a primary factor in hiring Joe Douglas because they both worked together at the time. I don't even know if Joe Douglas was qualified for the job or Adam Gase is, but they hire them because they're friends. You see it in the assistant coaching ranks, Daryl, is they always seem to hire guys they've worked with and they're friends. And when guys try to infiltrate the cocoon, when you got new ideas, new analytics or whatever, and when it doesn't work, you'll always see how, they'll always make those people look really bad when they get fired, and they'll all move the blame to them. And you see it all the time in like the head coach ring is, this guy was, X, Y, and Z. It's all his fault when really it's not, and that prevents people from getting into the cocoon. Is, well, if it doesn't work here with analytics, then why should it work on this team? And then you got the people in the media, the good old friends that always try to prop up people in the cocoon, like a guy that's been an NFL lifer, like a John Dorsey, for instance, is having his friends in the media, prop them up and stuff like that. So it's tough to break that cocoon, but it's slowly breaking. You see more young GMs come in with new ideas. The increased trading at the trade deadline has been something that's been new, and I'm always down for trades if it helps benefit your team for the future. You see that happening more, so stuff like that. So I think Sean McVay helped break that cocoon when he started his spread offense and kind of the fly sweep and college concept, and it was really with Sean McVay. And when you see that stuff working, now, I mean, college concepts are so frequent in the NFL, but you really didn't see that. Nobody wanted to try it. It didn't work with Chip Kelly, so why should it work now? So it doesn't mean it was wrong, but trying that new idea and stuff that works and having a lot of plays, no huddle, stuff like that. Now you see many teams do it. So Sean McVay was one of the guys that helped break the cocoon. So that's good there.
Well, Kenny, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.